Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, what is the most rewarding thing for you as a software developer? So let's get into it. Well, that's a really great question. So that's I'll pick my favorite one because there's many things that are, well, rewarding, but the most rewarding I would say is when I can solve a problem in just the correct way. And what I mean by that is not that I have some, well, genius solution necessarily to a problem, but rather that I can solve a problem in what I call an elegant fashion. And for me, what an elegant solution is basically that I manage to create a perfect level of abstraction. In other words, investing the perfect amount of time to solve a problem in such a fashion that it is very simple to understand how I solve the problem. I mean, it shouldn't be rocket science. It should be fairly straightforward, and it should also be fairly sustainable, easy to maintain. And basically, I want to be able to solve it in such a fashion that anybody who comes after me can, with just a little bit of reading, actually understand how this is actually working. And thirdly, which is the thing that makes it all kind of come together, is that the solution should, for that given situation, be a very objectively good level of abstraction or complexity to solve this given problem. But it also has to be extensible. In other words, when I can see, and this is like the best sensation in the world, because when I write this code itself, I don't really think so much about the you should think about the long term to some extent, but try not to overthink it, because if you plan too far ahead, you're just going to mess up the current code you're writing instead. But sometimes you get to that point where this given situation right here, you can solve this problem in a few ways, and they're all kind of good, but there's this one thing where one solution where you can basically almost feel that this is going to very likely evolve in this direction. And if I solve it in this fashion, that evolution will actually be very, very simple. I mean, and this doesn't have to just be for code that I'm super happy with, because as I've said in a few other videos, it's actually not uncommon for you to forget that there's only so much you can do with the software that you write, because the problem is what the problem is. The context is what the context is. And even when you're getting a really shitty situation where you can't really make something that won't be a problem at some point or require a lot of work, you may not be able to, from an engineering perspective, be able to solve this issue in an elegant fashion, or like the overall problem. You can still solve the problem, the task that you're facing at that moment, in such a way that it becomes the lesser of a lesser evil, if you will. I had such a situation not that long ago where I'm forced to basically support a system that is going to have multiple different customers of different markets and different countries and so forth. And anytime you want to support an international system where you have different legal requirements depending on who's making calls to the system, you will get a lot of permutations. And that is one of the most notoriously difficult things to get right, because the more permutations you have, your testing grows exponentially and all manner of issues come with that. But the way that I structured the solution, of course I cooperated with my coworkers, and we did a bit of rubber ducking to make sure that the solution was sound. I felt that the solution, although it was simple, was very extensible, because the focus for me was not to solve the overall problem. Basically, as a beginner, I would have tried to figure out a solution that completely abstracted away all of the requirements to know about the different customers and their markets and their countries and so forth. But experience has taught me that it's very likely that I will get such a thing wrong, because it's almost impossible for me to know how each of the markets that I support is going to expand. I mean, even if I today know that, there are these similarities between them, it's still a very early stage for the specific product, which means that I can make these assumptions today and build a solution that is generic today, but it's very likely that I will fuck that up at some later point, because some market starts to get different requirements from another. In other words, the engineering aspect would have said to, or the engineering perspective would have been, try to abstract this in some fashion. But experience has taught me that just keeping these things fairly separated and making it very easy to just extend with new markets and approaching the permutation problem from a different angle with more, well, basically generic testing and things of this nature would be a much better solution. This is just experience talking, but I was very happy with being able to do that. And now the best part about it is that I made the implementation quite a while back, and it's a core feature, it's a core concept within the system that I work on. And I see now junior developers who've been working for just a few weeks just instantly be able to understand how the solution works. Short discussion, and now they just can get productive immediately. And that's exactly the thing that I want you to take away from this. The thing that really makes me happy is when I can solve a problem, even if it's an ugly problem, in an elegant fashion. In other words, the solution is perfectly scoped, it's not overly complicated, it's like a perfect level of complexity for the given problem, but it also needs to be extensible so that other people can be as productive as I am from touching my own code. That's when I feel that I've truly succeeded, because if you understand my code and I understand my code, and we feel fairly equal in terms of comfort when we work on that code, then it's truly the sort of craftsmanship that I strive to produce myself. Have a great day.